deep beats and a succulent motion. Like a diamond catching the height when I close my eyes. Spellbinding with my soul, it touched me. It touched me more than once. Where the river builds the gentle waves of Ruchi moments. Yes, it is my river. Yes, it is my river, my Luit, so-called Brahmaputra, and it flows. And it flows forever and ever.
The story of the Brahmaputra, the people of Assam, the history, the society and culture, which evolved thousands of years ago, is still counting. Like the Brahmaputra, which has seen both continuity and changes over the ages, the culture and the society to have experienced the same. The destinies of both are linked with one another. The Brahmaputra influences the life and culture of the valley in all the socio-cultural dimensions. Colonialization of Assam has brought a radical change in the economy of Assam. They transformed the mode of exchange. The barter economy was replaced with the monetized economy. The discovery of local resources and establishment of industries had made this valley commercially significant. The colonial power had also introduced a new mode of communication, like roads, railways, etc. These initiatives had brought a drastic economic change in the Brahmaputra valley for the first time. Sir Edward Gate wrote, during this century for which Assam has been under British rule and enjoyed the blessing of settled government, its material prosperity has increased rapidly. Its trade has grown and its exports of mustard seeds, potato, silk and other local produce have increased greatly, both in quantity and value. After the discovery of the tea, Assam became a tea center in the Southeast Asia region. Literally, it was on the world map. From this tiny valley, the Assam tea was now competing for a big tea companies of the world. These developments also benefited the local people. After the tea, the discovery of liquid gold in the Brahmaputra basin had proven to be another jackpot for the ruling colonial power. R. Wilcox was an army lieutenant in the British Army. In those days, he was posted at Hodia as a revenue surveyor. He was also a geologist. Wilcox did several surveys at Upper Assam region. His concluding remark was that the Brahmaputra valley had possibilities of crude oil reserve, especially at the bank of the river Buridihing. Proving this prediction, in 1837, British explorer William Griffith reported oil at the bank of river Nodihing. After 7 years of discovery of crude oil in Pennsylvania, United States of America, Mr. Goodenough of McAuliffe, Stewart and Company drilled a well near Jaipur in Upper Assam and struck oil in the year 1866. By the year 1882, Assam Railways and Trading Company started striking oil in the same area. And finally, in the year 1889, the company engineers discovered crude oil at Digboi.
Just as Margareta is the coal queen of the region, so is Digboi. Digboi can be called the king of oil. Basically, Digboi has Asia's first oil refinery. Can you beat that?
No one can. And in fact, the structure which you can see behind us is the first commercial well of India. You can see that, discovery well number 1.
It's exactly the same well. They haven't changed the construction site yet.
Nothing.
It was first dug in 1889 and produced almost around 909 liters of oil per day. That is an awesome amount of oil.
Exactly. And it was functional since till 1932.
Currently, we are at the Digboi Centenary Museum, where they have actually preserved 100 years of the history of this particular region, starting from the British era. And every other preserved item is a heritage site by itself.
Right. And one interesting story about Digboi, the name Digboi. How come someone named a place Digboi? It is believed, it is said, it is a myth, or I don't know, it is believed actually throughout Assam and Northeast, I would say, that the Britishers, when they order the laborers to dig for more oil, so they used to say, "Dig, boy."
So it's like a myth which the local people find it very interesting.
Right. Dig, boy.
So
dig.
dig it more. It's still, Digboi still is considered one of the major oil regions of the entire country.
Right. Let's see more.
Accordingly, the valley got its first refinery at Digboi in the year 1901. It was also the first oil refinery in Asia. Initially, the production capacity of crude oil was limited up to 500 barrels in a day. On 11th December in the year 1901, Assam Oil Company's general manager wrote a letter to company's headquarters in London. By the end of next week, we should be sending away our first kerosene oil made in new refinery. The company declared a profit of 18,960 euros. Digboi was producing world's finest quality of wax, along with jute batching oil, kerosene and fuel oil. Until the end of 1911, a total of 32.4 million gallons of crude oil was refined. The company also set up a residential colony for the employees of the refinery. Digboy was among the first industrial townships in the country. It was designed and decorated in the same way of British lifestyle. The European bungalows, clubhouses and golf courses are made it unique and beautiful. The Digboy Centenary Museum, established in the centenary year of Digboy Refinery, tells us the story of oil history in this valley. The history that began from a dense, thick rainforest of Upper Assam to a history of dedication and hardship. With the extension of tea plantation in the valley, the searches of the source of fuel dragged the attention. After the occupation of this valley, the British started commercial navigation through the river Brahmaputra. The reason was to explore new avenues for British trade and commerce.
So Sukalpa and I were thinking of going to our next episode, or maybe the next destination, on this train. Well, these cute looking trains were actually functional during British Raj here in Digboy.
Yes.
And the one which we are standing, it's a passenger train which is to carry passengers, obviously, and on our right hand side there is a goods train.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, I would like to share something with our viewers, and that is the entire oil company here was initially called Burma Oil Company, which later on came to be known as Assam Oil Company and finally merged down to become the birthplace of IOCL, which is Indian Oil Corporation Limited.
All these factors contributed and generated a demand for coal as a source of fuel. Again, it was Mr. R. Wilcox, the Army Lieutenant, who reported Sir David Scott, the then Commissioner, about the presence of coal beds in Disang Valley of Upper Assam in the year 1825. Later on, coal was also found in the riverbed of Buridihing. The discovery of coal at the local level was proved to be economically and commercially viable for the introduction of steamers on the river. It was a great synchronized discovery from the perspective of economic growth of the valley. Prior to that, the British collected coals from Raniganj area and transported to Kolkata by railways. From Kolkata, the coal was sent through the river. This took a long time, and the process was also not economically viable. The freight raised the cost of the coal to more than 10 times its value. It was the reason the colonial administration was searching for local resources of coal. Just like tea, the coal fields also demanded skilled labor. And the absence of local labor, the industry had to depend on migrants. The coal belts in Upper Assam witnessed major socio-cultural shift after the introduction of coal mining industry.
So here we are, viewers, at the Margherita railway station. You want to know the history? Sukalpa, go ahead.
The Margherita town is actually renamed after the 19th century Italian Queen Margherita. And the engineer's name.
Yes, it was named in the honor of the Queen by the chief executive engineer of the railways that time, Italian engineer. And it's quite tough to pronounce his name. His name is Chevalier or Pagnini. Pagnini, I'm very sure I don't know how to pronounce the first name. I'm very sorry about it.
Also, we have to add that Margherita was actually one of the major points for coal during the British era and still is. Also, it's known
Ply.
for its plywood and tea.
So Margherita is a very small and beautiful town, so everybody should visit this town once.
The coal was also important to attract the investors. The British government was trying to get investors for their railway project. The discovery of coal fields had suddenly drawn the attention of the business giants. The coal was also a must for the tea factories. It put life to the steam engines of the railways. To meet the growing demand and to avoid the wood fuel, different collieries were set up. All these mines were operated under the administrative controls of Assam Railway and Trading Company.
Lido is quite popular for its coal industry. So, once upon a time, this was the flourished coal industry here.
Yes. During the British era, it served as one of the basic military base points, which had airports, which had a lot of military services to and fro from the country.
Right.
But now it thrives basically on coal.
So, there are many things which we are about to show you. So, you have to stay glued for that, and we'll show you around this beautiful small town called Lido.
Yes.
During the initial stage of colonial expansion, the river was the main connection between Assam and outer world. One British Army officer explained the significance of the river Brahmaputra in his words. Immediately below Guwahati, hills confined the Brahmaputra to a breadth of 1,200 yards. There, in the rainy seasons, boats are necessitated to be moved till the waterly breeze springs up of force sufficient to carry them through the narrow strait. But there is often great difficulty even when the river flows in an open bed.
Viewers, we are at the Coal Heritage Park and the Museum in Margherita.
Yes.
And we have seen so much of things inside here, and which actually helped us to know more about it. And I'm getting more curious, and it's inside me to know more about it. And then we went inside and I saw a big board with lots of information on it. That time only I came to know that Dr. John Berry White, the father of modern medical science, he was one of the key persons for bringing up the coal industries, the mining industries, oil and natural gas and railways here in Assam. So he's the key person that time.
Yes. Initially, this area was very less known for all these products, but later on, because of Dr. John Berry White, all these things came to people's notice. But what happened actually was all these things, once taken out from this region, was exported to the British by River Brahmaputra.
Through River Brahmaputra, yes.
Yeah,
River
Brahmaputra.
That was the main mode of transport that time. I can say the ships were used to transport goods from here. Later on, also, as I said, Dr. John Berry White is a very key person in establishing the railways here as well.
Yes, because of him, the Assam Railways and Trading Company started, and because of the Assam Railways and Trading Company, the river route of export had closed and the railways came into the picture.
We need to know more. Let's go. Yeah.
In the year 1832, the East India Company introduced ferry services on the river Ganga for the very first time in the country. After 12 years of that venture, the company extended their services to the river Brahmaputra. The Assam and the Nagas were the names given to the first two steamers introduced by the company for navigation through the river. Calculating the financial aspects, in 1851, Commissioner Major Jenkins made a proposal to ply steamers up to Dibrugarh 3 or 4 times in a year. But it was rejected for many reasons. A steamer ferry service was started at Dhubari in the year 1874-75 between North Bengal to Assam. The British used the river as a highway connecting Assam with Bengal. They introduced the government steamer in 1884, which plied from Kolkata to Guwahati and later extended its routes to Hodia, Dibrugarh, Jorhat, Tejpur, Guwahati, Goalpara and Dhubari are important crossing points in Assam during the British rule. Realizing the importance of the water navigation, an amount of 1,59,000 had been sanctioned for the development of navigation. The fund was used for constructions of related works. Prior to construction of the Saraighat Bridge in 1962, ferries were only means of crossing Brahmaputra River in Assam. Consequently, several bridges were constructed over the river. One Briton named M. Kosh had mentioned in writing, "The distance of the tea district from Kolkata through Great can be but a little obstacle. When such a noble river as Brahmaputra is open at all seasons for the boats of the largest burden, even to the foot of the hills where the tea grows." That's how the important role was played by this mighty river in placing Assam on the world tea map. Amkosh wrote, "The Brahmaputra may be called the great drain of Assam, and not of it only, but of all the mountain countries that surround it, streams of which swell it to a river of the very first-rate magnitude, so as to make it outrival the great Ganges itself in its tribute to the ocean."